Hey YouTube, this is Easy Breezy. So in this video, I'm going to be giving you signs that this guy is not for you. Now, I don't intend to make this a relationship channel, but I'm speaking to my Galaxy girls, period. Like my go-getters, my boss babes, my girls that are aspiring to upgrade themselves, level up, to evolve. And if you are a beautiful woman with a good head on her shoulders and you want to do better with dating, then this video is for you. So these are signs that a guy is just simply not for you. Number one, when a guy tries to change you, right? When he tries to change things about you that aren't hurting you, aren't hurting him, and ain't hurting nobody else. So these are things like who you're friends with. He doesn't want you to be friends with certain people because it makes him feel challenged or insecure. He doesn't want you to wear certain things because it makes him feel challenged or insecure. Makes him feel like, oh, I don't want other men looking at you and perceiving you or blah, 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 a certain type of way. And it's like, well, if you didn't want to date a bad bitch, why you walk up to me? If you didn't want to date a girl like me, why are you with me? You can't get with a girl like me and then try to change me into a whole nother person. So if a guy is trying to change things about you that ain't hurting nobody, he's not for you. And the reason why I made that rule first, and I want to emphasize that, is because most likely if someone is trying to change things about you, how you were naturally before you met that person, it's not like that version of you goes away. It just goes dormant for a while. And you slowly build resentment, you know, in your spirit about that, because you're not able to fully express yourself creatively. So when you're not around this guy, then you're going to want to wear what you want to wear again. And you're going to have to try to sneak and, you know, be yourself and things like that. And let's say he doesn't like you wearing a dress that maybe shows cleavage, for example. I understand that a man doesn't want his woman, you know, dressing provocative, and he wants his woman to dress a little bit more conservative and things like that. But I mean, where do we draw the line between just being sexy and being sexual? You know, like, I feel like women and men have a totally different perspective on this, and there are ways to carry yourself sexy but still have respect for your partner. But if your partner is really just trying to change everything about the way you dress, yeah, he's probably not for you, because you're going to end up sneaking and trying to be yourself when you're not around him. And you don't want to sneak behind your partner. And a lot of times women end up growing out of showing skin anyway. So your partner should allow you the space to be able to grow and evolve and grow into dressing more conservative. Like when I was younger, I used to dress way more provocative, way more. Now it doesn't even make me feel comfortable. Like I legit feel uncomfortable if I feel like I'm showing too much skin in public. And I didn't need a man to tell me that. I just needed to grow, you know? I needed maturity to realize that. So I didn't need a man to tell me to dress more conservative for me to feel like I needed to dress more conservative. That's something that I naturally grew into. So having a man that understands the evolution of a woman, a human, you know, like, men have space and time to grow and make mistakes. Why do they expect women to be perfect holy angels from birth, you know? Especially if a guy gets with a certain type of girl and then he tries to change her. I don't agree with that at all. If you want a girl that dresses conservative and you know that you're going to try to change someone, how about you just find a girl that dresses conservative? So yeah, that's number one. When he tries to change things about you that ain't hurting you, ain't hurting him, and ain't hurting nobody else. So number two is when you have to give him money. When you have to give a grown man money, and when I say grown man, I mean over the age of 20. Okay? Because once guys reach the age of 16, they already think they're grown. So once you're at the age of 20, you definitely should not be loaning no grown man money, especially if you're dating him. Only loan a man money if y'all are friends. Never let a man borrow money or have money that you're dating, because later on during the line, I'm not saying that this is everyone's situation, but a lot of times a woman's effort to try to build a man, it goes unnoticed and her efforts become unappreciated. So a lot of this money and these favors that you do for a guy, it might go in vain, because helping a man too much in the beginning, it starts to build resentment in him, because even though he wants to use you for your resources and your support, a man doesn't want to attribute his success to a woman. He wants to feel like he's the reason for his success. He wants to feel like, he's the reason where he's at, today. So the fact that he knows that it's this woman that is picking him up when he's down and loaning him money and, basically acting like his mommy, he's going to start acting like a bad child. So another sign that a man is not for you is when you feel forced or pressured, or you feel like you have to give him money. Give him money for food, buy him Uber Eats, give him money for rent, for bills, for anything. Like, you should not be giving no man money, period. You are a woman. You are supposed to be getting taken care of. You are supposed to be getting catered to. A man is supposed to be chasing you. Do not pay these guys to like you. Okay? So another way you can tell a guy is not for you is if he tries to pull you away from your friends and family, and he tries to convince you that he is your best friend, or he is the only person that has your best interests at heart, or for some reason he just tries to devalue everyone else in your life, including your parents, and tries to convince you that he's the only one that should be valued in your life. This is very dangerous, okay? This is dangerous because he is slowly manipulating you and training your mind to depend on him. A lot of times when a man is not accomplished, when he doesn't have tangible things to use to keep a woman, like money and resources and property, he uses other things to keep a woman, like her emotions, right? Or sex. So he'll use things like manipulation during sex. He'll use manipulation, that sex talk, you're mine, blah, blah, blah. He'll use like control tactics to try to get you to depend on him, because he don't have the money for you to depend on him. He don't have the resources for you to depend on him. So now he has to shackle your mind, right? Because he ain't got nothing tangible. Okay? So normally guys that try to manipulate your mind are guys that feel like they don't have anything real to offer a woman or tangible to offer a woman. Right? So yes, be careful of that. So another way that you can tell a man is not for you is if you are literally doing worse. If you are 1 or 2 years in the relationship and you realize you're doing worse than what you were doing before you met him. Your finances are not the same. You're not making as much money. You're not traveling anymore. You're not taking care of yourself anymore. You're not doing the things that you really want to do because you're afraid that he's not going to like it, or he's not going to accept it, or you're going to maybe challenge his ego, or you don't want to shine too much because you don't want to intimidate him or make him jealous. You can easily tell that you're clearly doing worse. I remember when I was in a relationship about a year in, I started to realize that I was just sleeping all day. I was waiting on him all day. We was eating and sleeping, and I wasn't really tending to my business as much as I was before. I wasn't making as much content. I wasn't like focused. And because my income is strictly dependent on my efforts and my own discipline, because I was Netflix and chilling all day with this guy, I was naturally not making as much money. So I didn't have as much freedom. I couldn't travel places. I couldn't invest in creative ideas or business ideas that I had. I could only just literally afford to survive and be around him. And I remember one time my mom invited me to like a mother-daughter day in Atlanta. And she told me, yeah, you know, me and your sister, I want you and your sister to come downtown with me and let's rent a hotel room and let's like, you know, spend a girls' day together. And y'all, I didn't have enough money to chip into the hotel room. Like, that's how down I was. And my mom was like, what, Zakia, like, how come you'll never have no money? Like, she straight up was like, why? Like, what's going on with you? And I wouldn't tell her because I didn't want to make it seem like, you know, I was off track or my relationship was, you know, getting me off track. So I tried to hide it. So when we were there, I was so frustrated because I couldn't buy what I wanted to buy. I couldn't pay for my own food. I had to get my mom to loan me money. And I just ended up being so miserable on that trip. I couldn't even enjoy myself. And I went in the room and I just started crying because I was so broke. And my mom came in the room and she was like, you know, what's wrong? And I told her that I just feel broke. And I just felt like I was broke for like the last year. And she was like, Zakia, she was like, you need to put your relationship on the back burner and start putting yourself first. Because if you're in this relationship a year from now, you're going to be in the same financial situation that you're in right now. And I listened to her and I soaked it in, but I didn't want to believe it, right? I wanted to believe that I had control over the situation. I wanted to believe that my relationship didn't have to affect me and didn't have to affect my productivity in my mindset. So, you know, instead of me, you know, breaking up with my boyfriend, because that wasn't a good enough excuse, you know, that wasn't a good enough reason for me to leave my relationship at that time. I still needed my boyfriend emotionally and things like that. So I stayed in the relationship, and just like she said, a year after that, by the 2-year mark of my relationship, I was in an even worse financial position. I was in a bigger debt. I was only surviving. I was not thriving. And I was just like in the same position. I couldn't believe it. I was just like, wow, like I thought I could control the situation, but I couldn't. So yes, if you find yourself in a worse position and you feel like as time goes by, you're not progressing, most likely that's not the guy for you. Okay. So another one, probably my last one, and one of the most important, is you can tell that a guy is not for you if you find yourself pulling away from God and your spiritual traditions. If you are the type of girl that likes to journal, if you like to meditate, if you like to work out, if you like to pray a lot, you know, if you're the type of girl that likes to burn sage, if you like to say your affirmations and you have your spiritual rituals that bring you closer to God and that make you feel grounded and, you know, spiritually refreshed, if you're in a relationship where you, for some reason, never find the time to get close to God anymore, you never find the time to go to church anymore, you never find the time to burn sage anymore, you never find the time to journal anymore, you just never find the time to pray anymore and say your affirmations, and you feel very far away from God, most likely this is not the man for you. And the reason why I say that is because firmly believe that a relationship has to be led by God and divine principles, because when people follow their own rules and you follow the rules of man, most likely you are following his rules, which are based on his ego, not God, not divine knowledge, not divine laws, nothing divine, nothing righteous. Okay. So you're following his rules and what makes him feel comfortable, what makes him feel like a man, what makes him feel dominant, and you're not being led by God. So the relationship is bound to end. It's bound to burn up and just be destroyed, because you're not being led by God. You're doing things against nature, right? So once again, in one of my relationships, I felt like I really wasn't myself because I was a very spiritual girl. Like when I first met, one of my exes or whatever, I was very spiritual. I always smelled like sage when I was around him, because I was always burning sage. I always smelled good. I always was grounding myself through like stretching and being in that meditative state. While I was stretching and doing yoga, I was always writing. I was always journaling. I was always just on top of my spirituality. I was always praying. And in the beginning of the relationship, we tried to incorporate spiritual practices and we tried to, pray together and stuff. But over time, it kind of just dwindled and just dissipated. And before you know it, we were not praying at all. We weren't praying before we went to sleep together. We weren't praying before we ate. We weren't just doing anything spiritual at all. And as time went by, I just started to feel just more away from myself and away from God. And I started to feel stagnant. I started to feel lost. And I'm like, why do I feel like, I have my quote unquote ideal relationship. I have a partner that I love. I have a roof over my head. I'm still making some type of money. Why do I feel like I'm not being blessed? Why do I feel like I'm not attracting more? And it was because I wasn't grounding myself. I wasn't praying anymore. I wasn't connecting with God anymore. I was just connecting to my boyfriend. So yes, I firmly believe that if you are a spiritual girl, but you find that a couple months, 6 months, a year into your relationship, and you are not practicing your spiritual traditions and your rituals anymore, this is probably not the guy for you. Because if he's led by flesh and he's not led by God, where is he leading you? All right. So let me know if y'all have any other signs in the comments. I can also say, like, if this guy is bringing out the worst qualities in you a lot. Like, I understand that couples are going to disagree sometimes. You're going to get in conflicts. But if this guy is making the ugliest parts of you come out more than they should, then most likely this is not the guy for you. If you perceive yourself as a sweet girl, as a loving person, as a very giving person, a patient person, but this guy is making you say ugly things, he's making you react in crazy ways that you never thought you would react to anyone, like in that type of way. He's making you do things you thought you would never do. He's making you chase him. He's taking you out your character. He's having you crying and screaming to God to heal this situation or take you out the situation, or he's making you feel lesser of yourself. He's making you feel like you're not enough. He's making you feel like you're not good enough for him, or he can find another you or whatever. Like whenever he gets mad at you and he tears you down and he makes you feel less of yourself, that's probably not the guy for you. If y'all cannot get along for 30 days at a time and he's always taking you out your character to where you're yelling, you're screaming, you're losing patience more and more, now you're on the defense more than you ever were, and you just find yourself to be just unbalanced emotionally, most likely he's not the guy for you. So, just take these things as learning lessons, because it does take two to tango. And just because we're experiencing something toxic or something that's not helping us progress doesn't mean that we don't have a part in it, right? We have to enable something for it to happen to us. So instead of, just saying, oh, this person is bad for me, he's toxic and he's this, understand that you are allowing certain things to happen to you. You are allowing yourself to not be as productive. You are allowing yourself to get out of character and let your emotions go crazy. You are allowing yourself to not be spiritually grounded, and you're allowing yourself to get away from God. Really look at yourself and ask yourself, what am I allowing to happen to me? Do I love this man more than I love God? Do I love this man more than I love myself? Do I love catering to him more than I love advancing in my career and making money and traveling and having my freedom? Like, you really have to weigh the pros and cons. What are you putting the most energy in? Are you putting more energy in him than you're putting in yourself? Right? Are you putting more energy into helping him in his career than you're putting into you in your stability, your financial stability? So if you feel like you're just not yourself, in the beginning you felt loved, you felt like the world was yours, and you felt like, oh my gosh, he loves me and I can operate so much better with love in my life now. But it kind of went like this, and it's like, and you're trying to make it go back to that high point, but it never really reaches that. Most likely you need space. You need solitude. You need to get back good with God. I mean, you're always good with God. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. You need to get back acquaintance with your spiritual practices so you can remember that you always have God, because God is always there. And you need to, reevaluate what you're putting your energy into, because is he putting the same amount of energy into you in the same areas? Same areas? Because that's important. A guy could easily manipulate a girl into thinking that he's making sacrifices for her just because he cut off all his hoes. That's not a sacrifice. Or he's making a sacrifice for her just because he's paying some bills in her apartment. That's not a sacrifice. You're paying to have a roof over your head, and I'm paying for a roof over my head. We're roommates. If you're making a sacrifice for me, that means you're paying some of my percentage of the 50-50. Or you're helping me. You're making my life easier. You're filling up my fridge with groceries. You're sacrificing for me in ways that I'm doing for you. So don't let a guy think that him doing the bare minimum is him making sacrifices or him putting in effort to keep you. Because a guy knows that a male is supposed to be a full provider. A guy knows this. So if he's not taking care of you, he knows that he's not operating at his full potential. And if you think a guy doesn't know that, come on now. Guys are not dumb. All right? So if he's not taking care of you, honey, he knows that he's not operating in his full masculinity, in his full potential. Trust me, he knows that. So yes, you guys, let me know if this video helped you and helped you open up your eyes a little bit and see your situation for what it is and what it ain't. Because I definitely understand. I understand. I get it. Trust me, I get it. I completely lost myself. And I have a bad habit of losing myself because I tend to give more to other people than I give myself. And I give more than I expect. So through these relationships and these experiences of losing myself, I learned every single time that I have to put myself first no matter what. Always, no matter how much I love this guy, no matter how much I care about him. And sometimes you have to let guys go through things themselves. If a guy is struggling financially, you have to let guys work through that themselves so they can build character and they can earn stripes for their manhood. And a guy would ultimately appreciate that in the long run, because a lot of times girls that help guys financially and help him get on his feet, they end up being underappreciated and disregarded later on. So if you are not subscribed to my channel already, make sure you go ahead and do that. Turn on your notifications and don't let anyone take advantage of you, and make sure you set up strong standards and very strong boundaries for yourself, because losing yourself in a relationship as a woman is so easy because we're so nurturing and so loving, but we always have to remember to put ourselves first. All right, see y'all later.